In a modern society, we are surrounded by different information and tasks for us to discover and accomplish. Due to the lack of time, people started to develop their multitasking skills in order to benefit from more events. Besides, which gender of people will have a better performance on multitasking? Let's find it out. What is multitasking? According to Cambridge Dictionary, the definition of multitasking is a person's ability to do more than one thing at a time. For example, visioning while listening to music. You may wonder, is there any benefits and risks while multitasking? The answer is yes. Multitasking can help us to save time, as multiple tasks could be finished simultaneously. But we could get tired easily due to heavy amount of workload. Speaking of multitasking, is there any relationship between the gender and the ability to multitask? Assistant Professor of Experimental Psychology at Utrecht University, Dr. Chris Jensen says that the ability to multitask does not depend on whether you are a man or woman, but mostly on how often you perform a task. To investigate such relationship, we are going to have some interviews and conduct an experiment to find out the answer.
For the experiment, the participant will be playing a multitasking game. It consists of a total of 4 mini-games. The game starts with 1 mini-game and more mini-games will appear if the player can reach to certain scores. In other words, the higher the score, the more difficult the game will be. Following the interview, we will demonstrate how the game is played. Then each participant will have 3 attempts to play the game. After each attempt, the score will be recorded for analysis. The aim of the experiment is to determine whether female or male is a better multitasker by comparing their average score from the game. Thus, the relationship between gender and the ability of multitasking could be discovered. Before we start our experiment, let us take a look at the interviews with our volunteers.
Do you know what is multitasking?
I think multitasking is doing with more than one thing at the same time.
I think multitasking is do more than one thing at the same time.
How often do you multitask?
I do multitasking every day.
Several times a week, I guess.
Is multitasking good or bad?
I think multitasking is good because I can finish other things with less time and I can have more spare time to do other things such as playing games or reading books.
I think it's good because it can minimize the time using.
Which gender are a better multitasker in your opinion, female or male?
Female.
I think female do multitasking better than male.
I don't think there is a difference between male and female as I think the cognitive ability between two genders are more or less the same, and so I don't think there is a better multitasker.
I think female can do good, better multitasking since I think female have make deep consideration before they start to work than male.
From the interview, most of our interviewees think that female is a better multitasker. But is it true? It's time for the experiment. In this experiment, to ensure it was a fair test, we have invited equal amounts of female and male participants to take part in our studies. Also, instead of using the score from individual attempts, taking the average score is a much better way to compare the results.
After analyzing the data, the average score of female participants is 53.6, and the average score of male participants is 53.1. Since the difference between two data is only 0.5, it is not significant to state that whether male or female is a better multitasker. Therefore, we conclude that gender may not be a factor which affecting the ability of multitasking.
Surprisingly, the score of most participants share a unique phenomenon. They score a higher score in the second attempt and even higher in the third attempt. This showed us that if a person keeps practicing the same thing, they could have a better performance no matter what gender they are. However, the game cannot represent all multitasking situations, as it is only one possible multitasking event. There may be some other factors that could affect a person's ability to perform multitasking.
With respect to our findings, there is no direct relationship between gender and the ability of multitasking.
However, a person's experience shows a positive effect on multitasking.
As more practice helps us to be more familiar with the task.
So, if you keep on multitasking, you could get a better performance in time.